So I'm going to start off just talking a little bit about what the domestic well safety program looks like in Oregon. It's pretty basic. The state just has like a basic website that says recommendations. There is no regulations around domestic wells. We recommend, the EPA, MCL, and action levels that we use currently for public water systems. And so each county then just kind of administers what they can with the funding they have and the information they have in each of the counties. So I just wanted to start off with that and to give you a little background, because it sounds like every program in every state is very different. And some people have regulations, lots of regulations, and some people have absolutely none. So we're kind of one of those ones that has very few. And I also wanted to mention, because we had kind of talked about statistics, and it's 23% of Oregonians are on a domestic private well. And so what I mostly do at Lane County is the public well, or the public water systems. And so it's a state program, and then the counties take everything that are 3,300 in population and smaller, that are groundwater systems only, to regulate for community and non-transient, non-community, those types of systems. And then the state regulates everything that's larger than that and surface water systems. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about what we did at Lane County to kind of bridge that gap of not having a state public health lab that'll accept domestic water samples. And what we did to kind of fill that gap. We get a lot of calls from people on, what do? I have a well, I'm a renter, I don't know how to test it, I don't have any money, what can I do? So I was hoping someone from Marist, because we partnered with a local high school, could be here with me today, but unfortunately they couldn't. So if you have any technical questions on how their lab's operating, I'll try to answer those, but I don't know too much about it. So Lane County Drinking Water Program. So we used to have a lab way back in the day, I was told, and I found this really cool picture of an old lab slip from the 70s, of some water quality tests that we had done. And we get a number of calls from, like I said, from domestic well users who can't afford to have their water tested. We only have one certified lab in our county. Our neighboring county, about 45 minutes away, has another certified lab. So, and our county's fairly large. We go from the Cascades to the coast. So for people like in Florence on the coast of Oregon, it's an hour and a half drive just to get to our lab in Eugene. So it's kind of a big deal. To take a sample in and have it tested, plus then they have to pay for it. And so we had a niche that could be filled. And so we came up with a unique solution. We do have a couple high schools in town in the Eugene area, and Marist High School was looking to kind of expand their chemistry program and wanted to get kids involved in a community event. So Marist approached Lane County, and we kind of formed a great relationship, and we toured our local certified lab, who the county has a really great relationship with because they're our only lab around. And so they gave us some great ideas, showed us the methods they were using, and how they differ maybe from ones that we could acquire at a much smaller scale and cheaper cost. And so Marist went out and found some grants. They got one called the Toshiba American STEM Grant, and it was an opportunity that allowed them to purchase a spectrophotometer and an incubator. And, mostly just searching, Googling grants was the way that, we kind of found funding to help fund this program. There's also, this year, they're going to go out for it's American Chemical Society teacher grant, so they can start doing lead testing, which is something they're not doing currently right now. So, Lane County just kind of assists Marist in trying to get this going, and we help them apply through some pass-through grants. The one thing that the Oregon State's domestic well safety program did offer was a small grant each year. You kind of had to apply for it through your local health department, so each county got to apply for it, and you can use it as a pass-through, and it's usually about $5,000 to $7,500. So we've applied for that twice and still haven't gotten it. So hopefully this year we'll get it, and we can kind of help build this program a little bit more to make our capacity a little bit larger for accepting samples. So what it is is we do sample collection kits, and I'll show you a picture on the next slide of what that actually looks like, but we also distribute them out to like farm feed places, and we have them at the local health department. We gave them to rural fire departments, like any kind of community center in any of our small communities. We kind of distributed kits that were there. People could go pick them up. In there were instructions on, like a form to fill out on what your name and number was and all that good stuff, but also instructions on how to collect the sample and the intake form. So the lab ended up being able to do coliform, E.coli, arsenic, nitrates, pH, and conductivity. And like I said, we're going to try to add lead because that's a pretty big deal, as we've all heard in the last year. And so that's something we do want to add, but hopefully we'll be able to get some money to get that additional lab equipment. And so what Marist does is they collect them about once a month, and they do a processing day. They run the samples, either mail or email lab results, and then on that form is information to contact me at the county. We provide the technical support whenever they have a lab sample that comes back, either above the action level or the MCL or something along those lines. And so then we just try to, give them some technical advice. We kind of have a list of contractors that we say, here's a list, but we can't, recommend anybody, to help them find some solutions on what to do. So this is a picture of what the sample kit looks like. It's just a simple bag, a back tea bottle. There's a label in there that we provide so they can provide us with just a clean water sample in a clean, any 8-ounce container, so we could do the nitrates and the arsenic. And so it's also, arranged on a certain day. Usually the schedule's on that form that's in there so they can know if they're going to do their sample in May, what day that it's going to be processed, and then they take their sample according to the form and then bring it into the school that day for processing. So here's a picture of what the lab is using for reporting, and it's just a FileMaker Pro database that created this lab software. Another local high school actually does something similar. They haven't partnered with the county or anything along those lines, and it's actually a pretty long-standing program that the other high school had been doing. So they shared a lot of information with Marist so they could get their program up and going. And so they let them borrow this software to use. It's a pretty good software, but I think after hearing what a lot of people have doing by including information in some of their lab reports and making it easier to read, I think we can definitely improve this, because that's, the number one question we get is, what does this mean? I have no idea what this means. Please tell me. So I think that'll be a great takeaway, is we can definitely improve on this and include more information on what their lab results mean and make it easier to read. So here's the other step, was trying to get the word out, advertising, trying to get people to bring in water samples. You get a lot of parents from the students there that are willing to submit results or submit samples to you. But so a couple avenues, just basic, newspaper ad, which can be a little expensive, but we targeted some of our rural newspapers for the rural communities in Lane County to try to get the word out. They also, we, at the county health department, we promote the program, whenever we get domestic well calls in to say, hey, we have this free, opportunity for you, come pick up a sample kit. And then you'll see that one is the Oregon Health Authority's webpage, which is what I talked about earlier. I mean, that's basically what they have for domestic well safety. And on there, you can list if you have a program going on in your county. And there's quite a few other programs. There's some nitrate programs going on, and in other counties like Jackson County in Oregon. And so we're always on there with Marist's program to get people to bring in samples. And I think we had some good outreach. Like they've had some good months where they've gotten in a number of samples. Usually around 20 is what they get. They could definitely use a little bit more. They can definitely process more. So we're definitely wanting to get more people to be involved, and that's kind of been the hurdle. And so I think I got a lot of good ideas from this conference on how we can even promote that better by reaching out to our extension at Oregon State, which we haven't done, and reaching out to some other community partners, which we haven't done. And so this is a little video of the news came out when Marist was doing some of their first processing of the samples. And this helped a lot with getting the word out.
Ongoing water crisis in Flint, Michigan. Students in Eugene took action today to make sure water in our area is safe. Marist High School hosted a water well screening event. Rural Lane County residents who draw their drinking water from private wells brought in water samples, and chemistry students did a test to see what's in it. They did find some levels of arsenic and bacteria, but nothing extremely dangerous.
We found arsenic, we found nitrates and bacteria. We found all of it. The question is how much is in the water and if it's healthy or safe to drink.
The program is funded by a grant and gives students hands-on lab experience. And while it's not a certified lab, it gives residents a look at their water before taking it to be officially tested. Well, coming up.
And so one of the unexpected benefits, I think, that we were all kind of surprised about was the students, learning customer service skills, dealing with the public, taking in samples, trying to answer questions. It was a great way for the students to get involved, and so it was a good skill. I don't think anyone kind of thought would even happen until it happened, and so that was great. So here's a couple pictures from the laboratory. They, like I said, they do bacteria, nitrates, arsenic, and they do some pH. And so they do it during their chemistry lab class. And the bacteria kind of has to be done, I think, more with the lab aide involved, but they definitely can run the arsenic and nitrates during class because it's more of a quicker process. But the students are involved in the whole process, even prepping the bacteria samples and doing the quality control work and reading samples, for the 24-hour coli samples. So I just have some more about the types of methods we were using. So this is the Hawk test kit for arsenic, and it was kind of the cheapest thing that we found to use. It's really basic. It's, like you can kind of see on that picture, it goes from 0 to 10 with a slight yellow color. So pretty much we adopted, if we had any color on that little test strip, we said it was a low detect, and it meant they had arsenic, so we kind of just, it's more qualitative in that regard. So we kind of amended it to work for us. And this was one of the higher ones that we've gotten, but since this picture, we got one that was even higher than that. So it's been interesting to see the varied amounts that we're actually detecting with this simple test method. Marist within this 1 year actually got a brand new science wing, and you can see a really cool hood that they're using in that one picture. So that arsenic test kit is pretty simple. It's something that Lane County actually ended up purchasing. It was only a couple $100. We donated it for the lab to use, just because arsenic is prevalent in our county, mostly in the southern portion. So we really wanted to know about arsenic, so we made sure that was something that they could test for. Here's some pictures of the E. coli coliform testing. You can see the UV viewer to determine if E. coli is present, the incubator that they purchased. It's a really nice incubator with that Toshiba grant. Comparator for coliform is on the left. You can see the one marked QC in that bottom picture there. So, it's basic. These aren't hard tests. It's something really simple, high school students can do. It's not super difficult. I mean, it's just a little, packet that you pop into the water sample, you close it, you shake it for 10 minutes, you put it in the incubator, you read it 24 hours later to the comparator, you shine the light on it to see if you have any E. coli, and that's it. It is pretty basic, but it's very accurate. It's the same thing labs are using, internally. Theirs is a little bit different, much smaller. You can see, I think there was a picture of it before that. I think it's the IBEX system, much smaller pockets. So instead, we just use the whole bottle. Makes it a lot easier. And so here's the nitrate spectrophotometer and vials that they use. It's, again, a pretty simple test. So they're in the test tubes. They take it out of the bottle that was provided by the homeowner. They put it in the test tube. They add the reagent powder, and then they put it through the spectrophotometer. So again, a very simple test that can be done. This was all new to me. I learned a lot about lab processes and methods, and it was kind of surprising how simple it can really be. So the woman, Sue Yellowtail, who couldn't be here today from Marist, had a background in working in labs, and so this was great for her, and she knew a lot more about it than I did, so it was a perfect partnership. And the reason she couldn't make it today is because we actually ended up hiring her at Lane County, and we're really busy right now, and we have so she's a new trainee for environmental health, and so unfortunately that meant she couldn't come to this conference. And so I did some quick GIS maps to kind of show, how many samples we've been getting and how dispersed they are in Lane County. So this is a picture of almost all of Lane County. It's a little bit wider than this. So it gives you an idea of how far you have to go. To get from one side of the county all the way on the coast to our farthest area up the Cascades would take you about 3 hours. So just to kind of give you an idea of how wide it is. So these are just all the samples that we've collected so far. Most people have been willing to give us their address of where they're collecting the sample. A lot of people don't. There is a disclaimer on the form, that this is for educational purposes only. So we're not sharing the data with anybody right now, and that's one of the reasons why we haven't got a grant from the state, is because we're not really sure how to share that data appropriately. So we're working on that. So here's our arsenic results. And so you'll see on there, it does say 0 to 5, it says 5 and up. And so anything, colored there is showing that really simple quantitative results. So if we got any color, we said, yep, you have arsenic. And so that kind of gives you an idea of the distribution of arsenic samples that we've gotten so far. Hoping to get more. Like I said, most of our South County is where we see a lot of arsenic, and so we haven't had too many from that area. So here's the coliform and E.coli results. And so I color-coded them so you could see the ones that were absent, or if they're present for coliform, or if they're present for E.coli. So it's been interesting. The students have really gotten into it when they see positive results, and then they want to learn, why is it like this? What's going on? What do people do? And then here's our nitrate results. So again, we've had a few above the action level, and it's been interesting to see where these ones are. DEQ in our area does a lot of nitrate groundwater, monitoring areas, because we do have a lot of nitrate issues in our area from farming, from feedlots, from other agricultural impacts. And so that's also what's been going on. And, this has kind of brought about having, environmental health being highlighted and bringing it into schools and educating kids on it and getting them involved, getting them to want to be an environmental health specialist. I've heard some people mention, there's a lack of environmental health specialists that are sanitarians in their state, and we're seeing the same thing in Oregon. I think there's only 250 of us registered in Oregon at this time. And, Lane County recently lost a few people, and we've been hiring people, and every single person we've hired is a trainee. So it's been interesting to see that. And so it really pushes you to want to go out to the schools and promote your profession and reach out to kids who want to be involved in science and teach them about environmental health. And that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions?
Barb Lukanen from Minnesota. I'm sorry if I missed this, but it's a big county. How many high schools are there in the county?
That's a good question. I don't know how many high schools we have.
Okay.
I know we have.
But it isn't just a couple.
No,
so those people that are coming from far distances are really making an effort to
right,
get to.
Right. And so I know we have 119 schools in our county in general, just because we had to do some work around schools this year and outbreaks.
Hi, Chris Over from Minnesota. I'm sorry if I missed this too, but so if they had arsenic, what did you give recommendations? What were the
so we let them call us. So the lab report says, you've exceeded this, action level or MCL, please contact Sarah Puls at Lane County Environmental Health to get more information. And not everybody calls. So there's people out there that are like, yeah, whatever, I'll live with it, and just kind of let it go. Either that or they're not understanding what is said on that report. So I don't know the percentage of how many people actually called that had a high result, but it seems to be about 50% of people will actually give us a call and be like, hey, what do we do? And, what we do is, in arsenic situations, the first thing we do is say, you need to get it tested at a certified lab because this is, a real basic test. We need to know exactly how much you have in there in order to give you recommendations, but then kind of follow up with, no level is safe, and kind of explain to them. People don't really understand where arsenic is coming from. And so when we explain it's naturally occurring in our area, this doesn't mean, that there was any kind of contamination in the groundwater in your area. It just means this. And so it's been a real educational experience talking to some of these domestic well users. And we've had a few people come back for follow-up sampling after they've installed treatment, or if it was a bacteria issue and they found something wrong with their wellhead and they shot chlorinated. So we've seen some of those repeat samples come back with people, showing that they've fixed the issue and it's worked. So that's been good. But we haven't really been measuring, how often that's been happening.
Hi, Pierce Rigrud from New Hampshire. How does the school schedule this time with the students in terms of their, in high schools they tend to have periods or blocks?
Right,
How does that work?
Yeah, so I know, I can't remember if it's sophomore, junior chemistry class or if it's junior, senior chemistry class. And I think, so the nitrate and arsenic samples, don't have any time frame they have to do. And so they space out the samples they get for that period. And I think every chemistry class that goes in there gets to do nitrate and arsenic, for that day that they're processing samples. And I don't know if they carry it over to a couple of different days or not. But the bacteria samples, I think, are limited to, I think a certain class gets to do those on a certain day. And so when they schedule that, for the year, they do the whole school year and pick one day a month, for the whole school year. And then they coordinate that with a class that's going to be the one processing, either processing them in the beginning or reading them in the end.
I'm Celia from Vermont. How much time and effort did you put into it versus the school?
That's a good question. I think in the beginning, just trying to get it going and trying to find funding and trying to, get equipment and stuff, we worked pretty much 50-50. And so, I really took it upon Lane County to just try to get this done. But now that the lab's up and going and running, it's a lot less work for the county because all we're doing is providing the technical support, and the school's the one who's running the whole program. And so in regards to having this be a good situation, an easy way for a county who has, low staffing, low funding, their time's already being taken up by the programs they're actually getting paid to do. It really hasn't been that much time in the end. And I feel like we're still, making an effort to promote domestic well safety.
She just made a good point that we haven't even discussed, and that is that in some places, private well work. Sorry. When she said there's still a lot of things that they need to do, that they're mandated to do. In many places we found around the country, private well work has, there is no mandate. So that's why it gets cut in a lot of counties and local areas and stuff. So, sorry. All right, any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.